Hello and welcome. Today we're working with the June 2018 Hero Arts kit. Here is a picture of it. This set is really popular and unfortunately it's already sold out. However, Paper Tray Ink has some similar sets and the Ton also has some similar sets. So if you want to swing by those websites, you can probably find sets by them. As you can see by the little hands, I have a helper here. Yeah. We're going to work on making 10 cards with this stamp set. I also picked up some of the add-ons this month. I picked up this wave die. I picked up this seagull die, stamp set. And this, I'm not sure what the name of this is. Beach Messages, because I really liked the words that are in this. So stay tuned. We got 10 cards to make. I have this. It looks like a Misty. It's not, or, you know, a stamp positioner. I guess you could argue it's still a stamp positioner. There's no magnets in this. It's basically just a clear block on a hinge. And I was actually given this, so I'm giving it a try to see if I like this or not. I put the bottom layer of the water on this piece here, and I'm going to ink it up with some light blue ink. I happen to have the Altenew inks, which are made for layering sets. So I'm going to use the layering blues. This one's called Sea Breeze. And I picked them because I liked that they looked really tropical. And I was going for, the tape's not adhering. So again, like I said, this is not a magnet. So there's no way to hold this down. I like that it's smaller than my Misty because it fits under here nicely. So I'm hoping that that'll work, but we'll see as we go. All right, I'm putting in the second layer. We might go back to using my mini Misty here if this doesn't work very well. Alright, so now I'm going to grab the second layer of ink, which is called turquoise, and ink up the second layer of the water stamp. And for our third color, we're going to use Tide Blue. And again, they're all Altenew. And I had them in my room. You could use the ones that came in the kit, but I really like how well they designed these to layer on top of each other. So. One of the add-ons I didn't get, and the reason I didn't is because we had this from the last kit. You probably remember this frame, and I thought, you know what, I don't see why I couldn't use this the same way the other frame was being used, and I thought they were kind of similar. I mean, yeah, you could argue they're not. Let's cut the swing out. So I thought it'd be kind of cool, like if you were the viewer, you're standing on dry land, you're looking through the trees and you're seeing a sailboat go by. That was kind of what I was envisioning. Okay, so I'm going to use my VersaFine ink to ink up my sailboat. Okay, so now I'm going to sponge in some color to make some sand. I'm not sure how well this is going to look. The two colors I kind of thought that were sandy in my collection were Fossilized Amber. Let's see how this looks here. And I'm purposely trying to leave a little bit of white between my sand and the beach because I think that looks like surf. That's the right word, surf. So there is some Fossilized Amber, and then I thought just to break that up a little bit, I'm going to put some brushed corduroy in there. And actually, I was going to use this, but what I think I'm going to do instead... Alright, I grabbed my stipple brush. I don't use this enough. This thing's pretty cool. But you can go in and add in little dots of color, so kind of giving it a sand look by doing some pouncing here. I'm going to put my frame on to see, and only a very tiny bit of that beach shows, but I'm okay with that. I think that looks pretty good, so I'm going to leave that. This is Tumble Glass Distress ink, and I'm going to sponge in some Sky just to soften this white. Alright, so if you were doing this at home and you were going to remake this card, what I recommend doing is sponging the Sky and then stamping the sailboat. But live and learn. It's what I did, so we're going to live with it. I did smudge my sailboat just a smidgen, but I was able to clean it up. I don't think it was really that big of a deal. So now I'm getting out, and I picked out a sentiment from the Seagull stamp set. You could pick anything you really wanted. And I'm going to use VersaFine to stamp this message. And because I think I'm going to have to stamp it more than once is why I'm using this. Alright, I put foam on the back of this black frame and then also adhered this to a top folding white note card. And there we go, we've got card number 1. Alright, for card number 2, I'm going to play with some pan pastels. If you're unfamiliar with pan pastels, they're very similar to chalks. So don't run out and buy them if you already have chalks. You can use your chalk. If you're interested and you're looking into it, check them out. Pan pastels are pretty neat. I enjoy playing with them. And let's put our card stock, and I cut a bunch of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 panels here. So let's just put this in here. And I'm only going to use the middle layer and the last layer. Nope, hold on, I've almost forgot a step. What we're going to do first is put a light coating of light blue down. So let me find my blue sponge. Alright, so now that we have this done, let's put this back into our little stamp-a-majig thing. And we're going to take the second layer and we're going to put that on top. And let's pick that up. And this time I'm going to use Versamark. I'm going to ink up the entire thing in Versamark. And I'm going to stamp that down. Alright, and then I'm going to take a baby wipe and I'm going to wipe off this area here, and I don't even care if it's that even because I'm just trying to take away that sharp edge of the stamp. And now I'm going to move my paper up. I'm trying to see where I stamped it the first time, and I'm going to stamp it again. Hopefully this time without that harsh edge line. And right now there's nothing to see, it's just Versamark, so it's very light. And let's take this and let's add some color. So now I'm going to add a darker shade of blue, and wherever there's Versamark, it's going to hold the ink. Not sure what happened there, but that's okay. So I think I'm going to stamp this one more time. Just putting some ink down at the bottom here, and then I'm going to add some more blue. And this is just going to help break up that lighter blue a little bit with more waves. I think that looks better. What do you think? Cool? So this is with 2 shades of blue. I do have a funky spot here, but I'm going to fix that, so that's fine. Alright, so let's pull our stamp block over again. Take this out, and now we're going to put the last layer in. Line that up. should get used to your fingerprints leave marks on the card. And just so you know, this is using regular cardstock, nothing fancy about it. So let me hold this up. I really like how that breaks that up. But in here, I think I need a few more waves. So I'm going to put this back in my stamp positioner. And I'm going to ink this up with Versamark. And in that area that I missed a little bit, I'm trying to stamp again. And because this is a nice bright sunny day and the water's really blue, I thought about doing a sunset scene, but I didn't think it made sense with this really blue water. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some real light blue. So now we kind of have a summery day. I think I'm going to trim this panel down a little bit, so I'm not too worried by some of the scuff marks that are at the very top. So very nice. All right, so let's figure out what we're going to stamp on this. Let's take, I have an idea. Let's take this cloud. And I'm taking the second layer of the cloud, and I'm going to put it in here. Let's put it kind of half on and half off. Let's try an experiment. Never done this before, so I'm going to ink this up. Sorry, it took me a second to find it, but I do have white. So let's see what happens when we apply. That's kind of cool. White on top of this, and now we have a cool little cloud formation. So let's stamp a couple more clouds. Just set this out of the way. So where I layered it, it didn't do a whole lot because it was already, I guess it's very subtle. You can kind of see that there's some depth in that cloud, but it's not real super uber obvious. If you didn't know what you were looking for, you probably would never see it. Alright, I think that's enough clouds, so let's put this white away. This is what a pan pastel looks like. It's just a pan and it's highly pigmented. Where your chalk is also pigmented, but this is even more, it's more rich. Alright, I decided to finish this off with the dolphin and the message, "See you soon." Hopefully this looks okay. I'm using some VersaFine black ink to stamp these. Alright, to finish off card number 2, I cut this down to be 5 by 3 3/4 and then created a black mat because I really felt that helped the words and the dolphin pop out. So, and then I cut a piece of blue cardstock that was 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so I'm going to mat that like that. And then in my stash I found some sheer ribbon. And I just thought there's so much blue here, there needed to be something, but I didn't want to cover up the waves. So I'm going to just cut some sheer ribbon. I think this is called organza, but I would not swear by that because I'm the worst at remembering the names of things. So I'm going to glue this down. Alright, here's card number 2. If you watched the little fast forwardy part, I did tie a bow, but I decided that a knot was probably more appropriate for this kind of card. I don't know, knot, C, I don't know. But you could do either. So there we go, here's card number 2. Alright, for card number 3, I wanted to try something different. It's kind of not a color scheme I choose very often, but while I had the pan pastels out, I wanted to try something else. So the first thing I'm going to do is put down a coat of light gray. It's a little darker than I wanted at this end, so I'm going to use my eraser, clean that line up. That really helped with the ombre feel of it. Alright, so now we definitely have more of an ombre colored paper. Very dark at the top, and then it gets much, much lighter as it comes down. And I even like that this has just a tiny bit of a shimmer to it, just to add a little bit more interest. And kind of blend that line out. What do you think? Does that look nice and stormy? I don't know. Okay, well, let's see. This may be, like I said, a crazy idea, but we're gonna do it. Alright, so now we're going to ink up our cloud again in Versamark. And stamp that down. And let's try this before we go nuts here. Let's take this white and see if it'll show up on top of the gray, which is what I was hoping for, and it does. Kind of gives it a nice little cool. Perfect. Okay, so now let's add some more gray clouds in here. Okay, so I trimmed this down to be 4 by 5 1/4, and I created a mat that was the same size as an A2 frame. So I think I'm going to mat this on here. I just kind of wanted to give myself, you know, a reference point. And I think I'm going to stamp the birds here. So let's go ahead and do that part. Alright, and then my next choice is the part that I've been wavering the most on when it comes to this card. So this is going to get matted like so. That'll help make the birds pop out. And then there's this stamp that said "with sympathy." And I liked the gray emptiness of this. I just don't know if that's too depressing. Is that too depressing? I don't know. So then I was trying to look for a happier alternative, and I found this stamp by My Favorite Things. Let's see what this looks like. It says, "You make me happy when skies are gray." I don't know, I still kind of like the "with sympathy." I think I like the "with sympathy." It is a little depressing, but so is it when you lose someone, I guess. I like the gray because that's kind of how you feel. So I'm going to go with it. We'll see. It's kind of like a silver and gray. Like the clouds look silver to me and the background's gray. I don't know. I like the feel of this. I like the simplicity of it, so we're just gonna go with it. But you could use this with other sentiments or make a happier card. But sadly we need sympathy cards, so there you go with sympathy. Alright, so I'm gonna clean this up and glue this down. Alright, so here's card number 3. I love the silver in that cloud. Maybe that's the silver lining. Anyway, alright, I'm going to put my pan pastels away and we'll move on to a happier card. Alright, for card number 4, I got my full-size Misty out. I actually did play with this a smidgen before, and I found that alignment in this process is incredibly important. So I definitely want to be able to put some magnets down and hold my paper in place and be able to move things as I need to. So I'm putting in, and I'm working right on my card base for this. This is a 4 1/4, 5 1/2 piece of paper, already folded in half, top folding or side folding maybe, I don't know. That's interesting. Alright. And I'm going to ink this up with my lightest blue, which is Sea Breeze. And I'm going to do my best to get this in one impression. What I found is that if you keep layering the colors, they get darker and darker, and it's because we need to stamp this more than once, it looks kind of silly if part of it's darker than the other part. And this, what I'm finding is I'm having trouble with this bottom layer. It's very mottled when it's stamped. So I'm gonna let it go and see what I can do, because I'm trying to get the ocean to go across the bottom of this panel. So I'm trying to extend the stamp to see how easy or hard that is to do. See what I mean about being 2 different shades of blue? Well, let's keep going and see what happens, but I think that's going to look funky. Alright, so let's take a second layer. And I'm going to start on this side with the layer this time, trying to hide that ugly line that we've got going on here. So now I'm inking it up with turquoise, which is my medium blue. It still looks really funky, guys. Alright, I'm gonna push through. Don't give up. Turquoise. Okay, that's not horrible. There's a little line, but I think that's okay. Let me go through here and let's do this. And we'll do the next color, which is Tide Pool. So the way this stamp is built makes it very hard to extend it across the card. It doesn't, even with the help of a Misty. This is pretty challenging. I'm hoping by adding more layers that the little, whatchamacallit, variation in here will be less noticeable. So, okay. So I'm going to clean this off, and what I think I'm going to do is I have one more shade of blue that's in this series by Altenew, and I think what I'm going to do is kind of what I did on card number 3. I'm going to ink this up, but not ink up that line. I might do this actually in Tide Blue. I know you can't see this. This Misty is huge, and it's really hard to fit under the space I have for my camera, but I'll explain to you as I'm... So when I inked this up, I didn't ink up along this ledge part. I tried to keep this, swiping off a little bit of ink. This part that makes it flat, I only did the wave part of this stamp, and I'm stamping it again to try to kind of mask, like I said, those little imperfections. So let's do that again, purposely not lining it up. And we'll use Tide Pool again, only inking up the part of the stamp that has waves in it, not the straight line part, to pull that blue up. And it's getting better. The variations are getting better. Let me hold this up so you guys can see. This is the one that bothers me the most, but I think I'm getting to the point of it's going to be okay. Because I do have one more layer of blue, I think I'm going to use it this time. I'm going to use that same top layer stamp. I'm going to ink this up. It's the color Starlight. It's the darkest of the blues that Altenew offers. And it's just this one spot here that I'm really trying to work on. So I'm just adding more and more waves, but it's starting to become less and less noticeable with what I'm doing here. So and again, like I said, I'm working on this card, which I'm making a mess of with fingerprints. That's okay. I'm going to cover this top part up, so that doesn't matter. Alright, so I have a piece of craft cardstock that I pulled out of my stash, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to tear an edge of this off. And you know what? Look, it's too big. I can trim that off later. What I really want to do is focus on getting an edge that kind of looks like a beach. Yeah, a little more jagged. It's too even, I think. Alright, I think that looks okay to me. And now what I'm going to do is take out my stipple brush that I had before and my brush corduroy, and I'm just going to add some sand marks in here. Okay, perfect. I think that looks good, so let's put this away. And then I have unicorn white from Hero Arts. This came in a kit, I don't remember which one, a while ago. And I'm going to sponge the edges of this. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just doing a little bit. I'm trying to make this look like the white surf, you know, so we have the beach and then we have like the water coming up is kind of the look I'm going for. So I'm trying to make this look like the surf. It's not as white as I was hoping, but it's, you know what? It's okay. I'll leave that for now. I have an idea of how to darken that up. My puppies say hello. Cool. See, now that those inks have dried, the variation in there doesn't really bother me at all. It's very minimal. It's hard to see. So I'm glad I left it as it was and let the ink settle into the paper a little bit. All right, I'm going to use that same brush corduroy to stamp the hello in the sand. And I'm going to use the embossing powder that came with the kit to put on that. I'll be right back. Here is the piece with the sand embossing powder on it. And the hello it's nice, but it doesn't stand out as much as I had hoped. But that's okay. It does look like it's written in sand. And I had a happy little accident. I forgot that unicorn ink is a pigment powder, and so when I put on the embossing powder on the hello, it stuck to the unicorn white, and so I have sand embossing powder now along the whole edge of the bottom of this, and it just kind of adds a little bit of texture and something fun to this card. So I kind of like that. I'm tempted to go back in and add still just a tiny bit of white to kind of make it that foam at the edge of the beach, but I mean that was the look I was going for, where the water meets the sand, so to speak. So alright, anyway, material. So this is just a stencil paint, and I'm going to take out some and put it on an acrylic block. I'll put the lid back on this so this doesn't dry out. And then on my acrylic block I'm going to add some water. And I'm just going to use a paintbrush to kind of mix that down. Probably added a little too much water, but that's fine. Yep, I'm going to let this evaporate just a little bit. These sandals are by Impression Obsession. They're a real tiny die. They come with a die of an Adirondack chair. If you're curious. I like how it looks, how almost someone kicked off their flip-flops and then went into the water. And just along the edge, I'm just putting along a little bit, and it doesn't have to be solid, just so it looks a little bit like foam. I'm not trying to cover up that sand embossing because I like that. Okay, I think I like the idea of the starfish. Again, though, I'm not trying to make them super dark. So what I think I'm going to do is stamp them in Versamark. And this way they'll be kind of faint and in the background. Okay, and then we have card number 4. If you do try this at home, just be careful of this process here of stamping it along the bottom. That was kind of a pain in the butt, but it turned out pretty well. So, card number 4. Alright, for card number 5, I thought I'd switch up the color scheme here a little bit. We're taking a break from blue, and we're going to use something so completely different, purple. Yeah, I know, I'm sorry, but I like the colors here. I'm going to make 2 of these cards because I think this is going to be a favorite of mine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this tool. I almost did this backwards. Oops, look at that. You should always clean your stamps. Let's flip this over. I cut a circle using my infinity circles from Hero Arts, and I'm hoping to stamp some water here on the bottom of them. And, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, but here we go. So let's do some purple water. We're going to start here with some soft lilac. And I'll speed through this because I'm going to stamp 2 of these, and I don't want to take up your time. Okay, in the lightest purple, I'm going to stamp a cloud up here. Might stamp a couple. I just feel like the mermaid's looking up, and it just seems weird to me that, I don't know, just needs something if you ask me on that. All right, so I'm going to put the cloud away. And in this one, I was going to stamp the words in purple and make this sailboat completely monochromatic. I was going to try to do that, but I just think the words would look better in this in black. And I pulled one of the sentiments for this. It says, "Happiness comes in waves," out of one of the add-ons. And I just thought it worked perfectly. All right, so we have our two circles done, one for each card. Okay, card 5 is kind of go off in a direction I totally didn't imagine from the beginning. At first I was going to use this die, which is an add-on, but when I realized that I just didn't have paper that matched, these purples do not go. So I was like, all right, well, let me look through my stash, and I stumbled across this paper, which I had already die cut, but for another project, and then didn't use, and I thought, gosh, this matches perfectly. So I think that's what I'm going to do here. But before I glue this down, I really didn't like, I stamped the sailboat in purple thinking that it would be completely monochromatic, and I hate it. So I'm taking a black marker and I'm just tracing over the purple. And now I have a black silhouette boat. So I'm sorry if you like the purple boat, but he's now hiding. Just think it looks cleaner. Okay, so I think I only have one of these die cut, so I guess I'll have to die cut another one, but I really do like it. So I will glue this one down. I popped this up on some foam, and I wish I planned this out, but I didn't. Maybe we'll use that die on another card. But here we go. We have card number 5. Oh, and if you're curious, this die is by Birch Press. It's called Grace. I'm not sure why they named it that, but I will tell you this. It takes some grace to punch all of the little gems out of this die. So I'm pretty sure that's where it gets its name, is you need to maintain some grace as you do that. But it's well worth it. It's a beautiful die. Love it, love it, love it. Perfect for this card, even though it was not intentional when I first started out. So to finish off the other card, I looked through my other layering dies, and this is another one by Birch Press, and the waves just perfectly complements the sentiment. So I did use the same purples as the Grace die, and here we go. This is the other half of card number 5. Okay, for card number 6, I'm switching it up a little bit. I'm still using blues, but I'm using more of blue-greens or teals colors. And I'm going to I'm trying to create more of a magical, I'm going to make like a pink and teal card. And so I'm back to using this stamp positioner. Okay, very pretty. Alright, I think that's going to go really well with pinks. So let me set this aside here. Let's do our beach first because the stuff is on my desk. We're going to use that brushed corduroy again in fossilized amber like we did back on card number 1. Okay, I picked Worn Lipstick, but I also have picked Raspberry nearby here, so if I need to, I can pull that in and add some more color. I'm going to take my scrap paper and fold this to kind of mask off that water. Okay. I think the camera makes this look like a hot mess. It's actually much better in real life, so hopefully you can see that. There is some sparkle there. Nice, pretty pink sky. And I did this because I really wanted to use the mermaid. If you know me, I love mermaids and I'm all about it. So let's see what we can do here. And I also thought about using some of these as some hills in the background. So let's play with this a little bit. Okay, so I grabbed my marker and I'm just going to fill in tree trunk there so that looks more natural. And then I'm going to try to figure out where I'm going to stamp my mermaid in our little beach scene. I want her to be more towards the foreground, so I'm going to position the rock. Sorry if I'm off screen here a little bit. There she is. There's our card front so far. So we have her kind of looking off into an island. Let's add in a big cloud first. Let's make it off center. I'm tempted to try stamping it in unicorn white. Alright, kind of waiting for that pigment ink to dry a little bit. I love the way the clouds turned out. That was pretty nice. Again, it shows that this is, it's not blended very well, but it is in real life. Hopefully the photos will show that as well. As I was brainstorming ways to finish this off, I stumbled across this die. I think it's my favorite things. I'm not really sure. It's a postage frame die. Most companies have one in their collection that's similar to that. So what I think I'm going to do is stamp the sentiment on this first, and then I'm going to adhere this down. And I found a piece of teal cardstock that matches the teal in here, and I like how that kind of pulls it together. So I'm going to mount this on that teal cardstock. And because this was a postage frame, and I don't know, for me it is true, it is my happy place. I love mermaids. I picked the greetings from my happy place down here. And there we go, we have card number 6. I like that pop of pink against the teal. Okay, for card number 7, I took a piece of craft cardstock and die cut this window out of it. And the window is from My Favorite Things. And I think I'm going to stamp something on top of this, but first I want to work on the panel that's going to go behind here. My son says hello. And so this is the only part that's going to show, so I just took a smaller piece of cardstock that'll fill this hole up. And I did get some of the other blues out that I had earlier because I wanted it to be more blue than teal. That's kind of the look I was going for. So now I'm going to sponge the sky blue using tumble glass. The first thing I'm going to do is take my stipple brush and my corduroy ink. And I'm going to stipple this cardstock so it looks a little bit like sand. Okay, so I embossed it on there, but I don't think it shows up super well. So what I'm going to do is ink my hello stamp back up in the corduroy, and I'm going to offset the stamping just a little bit intentionally. This is going to create a shadow. So I don't want to line that up. I'm trying to stamp next to it, and I think that's going to help the hello stand out, and I think it does quite a bit, because the sand and the paper were so close together in color. All right, perfect. So now let's take our piece and let's stamp inside of that. I was thinking about using the dolphin, kind of an iconic scene there. You could certainly use the mermaid. I promised myself I wouldn't use the mermaid on every card. Okay, to finish this card off, I'm going to take my VersaFine ink and the footprint stamp, and I think I'm going to add some tracks across the card with the Versamark. And I like that that just leaves like a watermark behind. So I thought the card needed just a little something, so I took one of the seagulls and colored it with my Copics and cut it out, just to add a little something to the card. Alright, for card number 8, I wanted to try my hand at a moonlit night. So what I'm going to do is I masked off the bottom third, a little more probably, of a panel. And then I'm going to sponge on some yellow. And then I'm going to lay a mask over the top of this. And this is going to serve as my moon. So this is where the moon is in my sky. And I just put a little bit of removable adhesive onto a piece of cardstock. Hoping that'll, I'm sorry, Post-it note. Just kind of adding a little more yellow glow around the moon. Alright, and so now let's add some other colors. Let's start with a darker yellow. And I'm going to start building my sunset. Do this a little bit differently than some people do. You could do this with any kind of ink. Alright, I think that's good. Okay. This is going to look like a hot mess before anything. And I like to have some pink in my sunset, so now I'm going to take some pink. Start sponging that on. Let's see. You can always come back and add more, but I think that's enough pink. Now I'm going to come in with some purple. This is a really gray purple, which works out really well for night skies. And then I'm going to go in with another shade of purple that's got a little, it's a little pinkier purple. Let's see. This might be a little bit too pink of a purple. Could have used this instead of the pink, but okay. Alright. So now I'm going to get some gray and black distress ink and start closing this in a little bit. I'm going to start darkening up these edges. And now I'm going to add in just a little bit of black soot. Alright, so let's take our masks off and see what we have here. So cool, we kind of have a night sky with the moon. There's a little bit of removable adhesive there. And now what I'm going to do is let's stamp the water. And now I want the water to be darker, so I'm going to use some darker colors than I did earlier. Alright, to do the sand, I'm not really sure what the best course of action is, but I don't want to do it in that light brown that I was doing it before. So what I'm going to do is use the darker brown. Hopefully this is a good decision. Darker too around the edges. So let's go back to our pumice stone, and even here on the edges of the water, that vignette would continue. I think that's the right word, right? Vignette? I'll have to look that up later to make sure I'm using that properly. Alright, so there's a little bit of gray, and now I'm going to add a little bit of the black. Alright, so let's stamp the rock first. Give our mermaid something to sit on. And we'll use VersaFine to do that. Alright, here's card number 8. I finished it. My battery was low, so I did a little bit of the stamping off camera. I used this sentiment from a Stampin' Up! Set called High Tide. I just didn't feel like any of the ones I had really fit, I don't know, the feel of this card. But I added the birds from the kit and the mermaids from the kit, and then I mounted it on a piece of blue cardstock. I decided to tie some baker's twine here, and I was really on the fence about this. But this water here was kind of light, and so I wanted something that would tone down that light water, because it is evening. It's not supposed to be like, you know, the bright daytime water. So at any rate, so I thought that helped distract away from the brightness of the water. Maybe that's just in my imagination, but that's what I'm saying, and I'm sticking to it. But anyway, here's card number 8. Alright, for card number 9, I actually want to kind of backpedal and revisit an idea I had for card number 5 that didn't pan out. I had die cut and embossed a purple panel with that wave border, and I was kind of hoping that you could see the embossing through the die cut, and honestly I can say that you can't. It wasn't really worth doing, but I do like the way the light purple shows through the dark purple. I also have a card base cut that I'm going to glue these all together, and then I die cut a wonky stitched rectangle, and I pulled out 3 different purples. These are by Stampin' Up! To see if I can create purple water that matches purple paper. So let's see what we can do here. Okay, I kind of mapped this out a little bit. I think I'm going to put the sentiment happiness comes in waves at the top, have some water, and then the sand. I really like this saying. It says hashtag aquaholic. I think that's pretty funny. So I think we're going to put that in the sand. So let's get stamping here. And let's keep our fingers crossed that the papers match. So I guess we need this as a placeholder. I'm going to take some of that corduroy distress ink, and I'm going to go ahead and sponge that in. And then I'm also going to take and stipple this so it has a little bit more of a sandy look. And while I'm at it, Let me see if I still have. I can't find my stencil paint, but what I think I'm going to try, I've never tried this before, I have my unicorn white and a paintbrush, and I'm tapping it in here, and I'm going to see if I can create the look of surf, and that looks actually pretty cool. It's a little bit of surf in there. Wish it was a little darker, but I think the idea comes across. Alright, so we'll set this aside. Okay, I think I decided to do the sky in blue. Just think this tumble glass is a really light blue, and it probably makes the most sense. And I'm still kind of debating a little bit on these sentiments, but I do really like the happiness comes in waves. From an aquaholic, not an alcoholic, that's bad, but an aquaholic is okay. You guys think? You like aquaholic on there? Like it plain or something else? Oh, I do have another idea. Thinking about putting an Adirondack chair. It's one of the stamps I haven't used. Thought that would be kind of fun. Let's stick an Adirondack chair on there and then decide if we need to add anything else. I'm going to get my white embossing powder, and I'm going to heat emboss probably 2 Adirondack chairs on this panel. Alright, I finished up card number 9. I decided to heat emboss the white Adirondack chairs in the front, so it's kind of like 2 people are sitting there, happiness, you know, and then I stamped the aquaholic in a brown ink, so it kind of just blends into the sand, and I don't know, for whatever reason, I think that's kind of funny, because I'm an aquaholic. I'm Purple Lake Stamps, love the water, grew up on the water, so I don't know, just it rings true with me. So happiness is the water. So this is a neat little card. I love that background, although it was a little bit tricky to die cut, but I enjoyed it. It matches perfectly with the darker water in there, so that's kind of nice. So card number 9. So we're at card number 10, yay! If you follow my videos, you know that for card number 10 I always try to do something a little different. I'm challenging myself. I've never made one of these cards before, but I found the dimensions online. It's called the Z fold card, which is new to me. They've been around forever. I just have never got a chance to get around to try it. It's actually a very simple card, or I think it is, they say that now. Simple card to make. It is a half sheet of paper. You fold in half at 4 1/4 just like you normally would, and then you take the top piece and you score this back like so. And then you take another piece of cardstock that is the same length as your base, so this would be 8 1/2, and this can be any width. So I made it look like a slope like sand. That's my goal. This could also be located anywhere on this card. Obviously it makes no sense to have sand up here in the sky, so we're going to put it here at the bottom. But if you had another card idea, you could relocate that appropriately. Alright, so let's start with the sand, because that at least makes sense to me. Let's get some brown out. Oh, here's my brown. And I am going to sponge the edges of where I tore it, the cardstock. And just to add some texture to this, I am going to kind of sponge on some brown. Don't worry, I'm going to stipple too. Now I'm going to stipple, just giving it another type of mark on the cardstock. I really do like stippling. I don't know why I don't think to do it more often. And I'm going to get another color just because why not? What other color? Let me try a little bit of this, see what this looks like. This is the pumice stone. Not too shabby. I like that it adds in some darker spots. Cool. I'm still tempted to find a darker brown. Just because it's nearby, I have walnut stain, but it's a distress oxide. I don't know if this will work. Seems to be working. Just trying to add as much dimension as I can to this piece of cardstock. Alright, enough is enough. So we'll let this dry. Okay, to do the stamping of the water, I'm going to use my Misty to do this, and I'm not really sure the best way to lay this out. Because we need to stamp a lot like card number 4 across this whole panel. I'm guessing that laying our card out like so might be the smartest way to go. And I'm just going to lay this here as a place marker. I kind of want to see I guess that's where the water is going to live. Okay, I'm going to ink this up with our lightest blue, which is the Sea Breeze. Alright, pretty awesome. Now I'm going to take my sand and lay this across. Obviously the water doesn't come to the sand, so we need to continue this down some more. So I'm going to take my solid stamp and lay this back down. This is what it looks like with the sand over the top, and this is what it's going to look like when the card is closed. I'm going to trim off this edge. There's a little bit of white. There's a little white here, but I'm not going to worry about it. It's my first try at this card. What I think is really cool is this horizon lines right up with that, which is exactly what I was hoping it would do. So we did a great job of keeping it straight all the way across our card. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take some tumbled glass and let's make the sky blue. Okay, I have a bunch of stamps picked out. I'm not really sure exactly what's going to happen with this, but let's give it a shot. So first off, I think what I'm going to do is stamp. And I think I'm just going to use a regular block. So far these have been stamping really well, and I think it's going to be easier than trying to manipulate this whole thing inside of a Misty or whatever. So hopefully without messing this up. I'm going to use VersaFine, and I think it was card 6. I created an island. So here we go. And because I don't want it to look like a cloud, I'm going to also add a couple layers here. So I think now it's not the same shape as our clouds. Alright, so let's set these aside. I'm going to stamp a couple of palm trees. And just like before, I can extend the trunk a little bit. Let's do that while I'm thinking about it. So now I'm taking my Memento marker. Kind of makes sense they're sailing off the island, doesn't it? Alright, let's put some clouds in. I decided I'm going to use the unicorn white again. Start with this big cloud. And I'm purposely putting this one here because this way when I close the card, I don't have to worry about the continuation of that image. Now that's really light. I'm trying to think of how else I can make that stand out. Let me try stamping it twice. You could heat emboss these. I just think that's a pain in the butt. So we're gonna just try to use this white. It's better. I don't know if you can see that at all. I'll pick this up here in a minute. My stamp. Okay, I just pulled out the white stuff that I had earlier, and yeah, this was a good idea. So I'm adding this on top of that white pigment ink, and it's now giving it kind of a shimmer, which is a nice little touch to the card. Let me pick this up so you guys see that cloud now. Okay, so I don't know, my crazy brain's still going. I like the idea that the dolphin is going this way, which to me is like the flow of the way the card should go. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink up this dolphin, and I want to stamp it multiple times, but I don't want to use the entire stamp every time. So I'm going to move these stamps here. And I'm going to use this as a mask. Let's see, let's put a dolphin tail right there. I kind of wanted that to look like it was sticking out of the water, or a whale tail, I don't know, whatever you want to call that. And then we'll put a full dolphin jumping, and then we'll figure out where to put a third, because I always do things in threes, generally. So let's put this one up here. And I wonder if the mask would work in the other direction. Let's try this. So we'll ink up our dolphin. I'm just going to try this on my scrap paper here. Oops. Yeah, like there's one sticking out of the water. Kind of like that. Alright, so let's put this here. I don't want it to look like the other half, like that's weird. We want it on the... I'm not real sure where I want this dolphin to be. I don't want to put him here because then I think it makes it look like the dolphin is continuously jumping in circles, and that's kind of weird. Thinking about putting it in this this panel here. I actually have a little black mark, so let's try to cover that up. And let's put another one, just so he looks like he has a friend and it's not so weird. Sailboat, and let's put a couple sailboats. I feel like that makes sense by the island versus the way I originally thought. Okay. I noticed that my first one I stamped, I'm a little high up. I don't know if you can see that. There's air between the water and my sailboat, so I'm just going to come in with a black marker and make my boat a little bigger. There we go. No one will ever know. Add some birds. The birds kind of fit around the curvature of that island. And this didn't stamp super well, so I'm just going in with a marker and darkening that up. And I'm tempted I wonder if I can, a little smudge mark right here. Smudge marks are good places for birds. Okay. I don't want to go too crazy, but I think what I might do is, where's my mask paper? Alright, so I pulled a piece of paper out of the trash, and because I want a bird to live kind of on top of my smudge mark, do that. There's one. Maybe I'll put two more. There we go. I like that. I feel like that balances that out. Alright, no more birds. We're putting the birds away. Put this back in the trash can until we need it again. I feel like our water part is pretty well mapped out. So I think I'm going to put the VersaFine away. Let's stamp the holo. You could do this with the embossing. I'm just going to make it simple because it's 3 a.m. guys, and it's time to go to bed. So let's stamp the hello. We'll center that like so. Nope, I'm gonna do the sand embossing because that just is too cool not to. Alright, let me emboss this. Okay, so now we have our sand hello, and I'm going to, like we did on a few of the other cards, I'm gonna put some starfish and some footprints and whatnot, and I'm gonna do this in brush corduroy, so it's just a real okay. So I die cut and stamped 2 Adirondack chairs. I did them in red because I wanted it to be a pop of color, and I'm going to have them hang up over the edge of this. So I'm only going to put down glue on the bottom of these. I do think it's weird. It should be the back of the Adirondack chairs, but I'm not going to fuss too much, I guess, because you would think they'd be looking at the water. That's all. Make sure I'm not getting glue on that part. And then I pulled out the stamp that says I sure do miss you, and I think that to me is the most I don't know, just for whatever reason, out of all the sentiments I have to pick from, that's the one that grabbed me. To finish this off, I'm going to put adhesive on this piece here, and I'm going to line this up and glue that, and then I'm going to put adhesive in this quadrant here, and line that up. Oh, this is nowhere near dry. Okay, and here is card number 10, our Z-fold card. So this is how it would fit in the envelope, and then when you open it up, it would stand up like this, which would look like this to the viewer, whoever's sitting at the table. I might trim this little bit off here. I don't know if you can see that white, but I'll just shave a little piece off of that once it's all dry. But I I hope you like my 10 cards, 1 kit challenge for this month. I really enjoyed this set. Oh, it's a wonderful set. I hope you were able to pick it up. Definitely will use this multiple times. I know I say that for every kit, but it's kind of true. I do. My students are always so glad when I bring in cards from the kit challenge as well. I don't know if my husband's doing a video this month. He has been away at a conference. He just got home, and with 4th of July next week, we have family in town. I don't know time-wise of where he's going to fit that in, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed that he does. I know you guys enjoy his videos. He enjoys making those videos. He gets such a kick out of it. Please leave me a comment. I love to hear what you guys are saying. Subscribe, share, pin, whatever you guys do. It really does mean a lot to me. All these cards will be on my blog, so if you'd like to see pictures of them, please go stop by and visit. You can also subscribe to my blog if you want to see other cards besides Hero Arts. I do make several of those. And thank you so much for hanging